Hello everyone, welcome to the Afro page. Today, we're diving into a critical issue that's been making headlines recently. Why African countries are banning the export of raw materials to Europe. So, in this video, we'll be exploring the reasons behind these decisions and their far-reaching implications. But first, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on our thought-provoking content. So, let's dive in. Africa is a continent blessed with an abundance of natural resources ranging from oil, gas, minerals, and agricultural products. These resources have played a significant role in shaping the continent's economy and development. However, for many years, African countries have been at the mercy of multinational corporations who exploit their resources for maximum profit, leaving the countries with little or nothing to show for it. As many African countries strive to boost their economies and improve the livelihoods of their citizens, there's been a growing concern over the exploitation of natural resources by foreign corporations and countries. The decision by African countries to restrict or ban the exportation of their natural resources is a reflection of the changing tides in the global economy. For too long, African countries have been seen as a source of cheap raw materials to feed the insatiable appetite of the developed world. The banning or restriction of exportation is a sign of African countries' determination to chart a new course, one that prioritizes local development and sustainable use of their resources. The export of raw materials has been identified as one of the major causes of structural weaknesses in African economies over the past decade. Experts have recommended value addition as the only viable way to reduce poverty, strengthen economic resilience, and reduce unemployment and social inequality on the continent. Most African countries are highly dependent on raw material export, which they later import significantly expensive. The little foreign currency earned from raw material exports is later spent on expensive imports. Despite the vulnerabilities of these circumstances and the experts' recommendation to develop a processing industrial base to reduce excessive dependency on raw material exports and importing consumer goods, there's been little appetite for effort to implement drastic changes. Natural resources are the backbone of many African economies, providing valuable income and contributing to the development of infrastructure and social services. However, the exploitation of these resources has often resulted in unequal distribution of wealth and benefits, leading to environmental degradation and social unrest. To combat these issues, some African countries have taken the bold step of banning or restricting the exportation of their natural resources to European countries. So now, we will explore the reasons behind these decisions and the impact they have had on these countries and their citizens. On July 27, 2023, Ghana's cabinet decided to ban the export of unprocessed minerals, like lithium, following the trend of several other African nations taking similar measures as part of a shared strategy to maximize returns from their natural resources. According to the country's Minister of Land and Natural Resources, Samuel A. Jinapor, Ghana's new policy, which is expected to be passed into law by the end of 2023, aims to retain a significant proportion of the value chain before a product is rolled out for export. Namibia's cabinet made a policy decision based on the same premise a month before Ghana did, albeit with some leeway. Namibia's Deputy Minister of Information and Communication Technology, Emma Theo, said, "Smaller quantities of these minerals may be allowed for export, at the discretion of the Minister of Mines and Energy, and subject to the cabinet's endorsement." In December 2022, Zimbabwe took a similar step regarding the export of unprocessed lithium. A circular put out by the Southern African country's Ministry of Mines and Mining Development said the move was meant to realize President Emerson Mnangagwa's vision of seeing the country becoming an upper-middle-income economy. Global green shift. It isn't a coincidence that African countries rich in minerals like lithium, a key component of batteries, are realigning their export strategies when governments in the developed world are pushing for a shift towards green technology, prompting the major automakers to focus on electric vehicles. The UK, for instance, decided years ago to ban the sale of new petrol and diesel vehicles by 2030. The European Union's ban on the sale of new cars that emit CO2 will kick in by 2035. Some companies have already fixed the dates they will stop producing internal combustion engines, focusing only on electric vehicles powered by energy-efficient batteries. Besides lithium, These batteries need cobalt, a metal Africa is rich in. Competing with China. China is the dominant player in processed lithium, and other developed countries are looking for lithium sources to compete with it in the new energy race. According to the 2021 BP Statistical Review, Zimbabwe has 1.2% of the world's proven lithium reserves, while the US and China have 4.0% and 7.9% respectively. Lithium deposits continue to be discovered in other African countries. In 2022, Nigeria announced the discovery of high-grade lithium in several states of the country. Nigerian lithium is a hot cake now. The high-grade mineral was discovered in several parts of the country during the course of the National Integrated Mineral Exploration Project, says Abdul Razak Garba, Director General of the Nigerian Geological Survey Agency. The worldwide standard for high-grade in exploration and mining starts from 0.4% lithium oxide. When we started exploration and mining, we saw up to 13% lithium oxide content. Policy spin-offs. As lithium-rich African countries try to make the most of Western interest in using the continent's resources to catch up with China in lithium supply, can the ban on the export of raw lithium help? Analysts have divergent views on this. While some believe it can spur the growth of processing plants in the continent, others apprehend that the strategy might lead to a reduction in the volume of trade in lithium. Foreign investors will be forced to set up processing plants here in Africa. This will automatically create job opportunities for Africans. Abdullahi Lawal, a senior geologist based in Nigeria, tells TRT Africa. The caveat is that this benefit will be limited to African countries not burdened by high insecurity. In African countries with high levels of insecurity, foreign investors may not want to establish processing plants, Abdullahi points out. According to some economists, this could even stifle trade with African partners, since a country that has banned the export of such minerals wouldn't allow these to be sent to another African nation with battery-producing plants that require lithium. African countries banning the export of raw green minerals like lithium and cobalt does not augur well for intra-African trade. Idakolo Gabriel Gebalad of SD&D Capital Management Limited tells TRT Africa. Some analysts are, however, optimistic that the policy will succeed in the long run, provided those in charge do not mess with the larger goal. It may take a while, but the economy will improve as long as the leadership is doing right by their people, says Abdullahi. He believes control of trade in green minerals would ultimately put Africa in the driving seat regarding the Western world's energy needs. Most of the raw materials used for the development of green technology are sourced from Africa. The continent deciding to dictate the pace of import and export of such materials would make it an unstoppable force. Looking inward. Instead of merely reacting to the raw material demands of automakers abroad, some experts believe that African countries should look inward to chart a better course for renewable energy development. I believe that African countries should be able to look inward to be able to grow their potential, says Idakolo. He advises African governments to use renewed Western interest in the continent's raw materials to improve their capacity in mining. Execution hitches. African countries don't lack in policymaking, but for many, implementation remains a problem. For every policy discouraging the export of raw minerals, experts believe certain supplementary steps need to be taken so that the African people can get more out of their resources. They could start by forcing foreign investors to set up their processing and manufacturing plants in Africa. They could also sign MOUs linking exports to debt servicing with countries interested in these resources. We hope this video sheds light on why African countries are banning the export of raw materials to Europe. It's a complex issue with significant implications, and finding the right balance is a work in progress. If you found this video informative, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And, as always, don't forget to subscribe and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.